Welcome to the Parsha Perspective. Each week, we will delve deep in a weekly Torah portion to find a practical and insightful way to enhance your daily life. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Shalom Yemini. Each week, we will look into the weekly Torah portion to find inspiration that will complement your daily life and intensify your connection to God. This week's Parsha Perspective is dedicated in memory of Shlomo Ben Edward and Edward David Shaul ben Efraim. May their souls be uplifted and their memories a blessing. This week's Parsha Perspective is also in honor of Sasson Betzalel ben Batya and Sapir bas Ariela. May they have a quick and full recovery. This week's Torah portion is Parshas Vayeitzei. Our Parsha begins with Yaakov Avinu leaving Beer Sheva and heading to Charan to run away from Esav and to find a wife. On his way, he rested overnight on the future home of the Beis Hamikdash, Har Moriah, Mount Moriah. And that night he dreamt of a ladder reaching the heavens with angels ascending and descending it. God then appeared to Yaakov and told him that he would give this very piece of land to his children and descendants and guard him until he returns to Canaan. The next morning, when Yaakov woke up, he recognized the holiness of this mountain and named this place Beis Kel, the house of God. When Yaakov finally arrived in Charan, he met Rachel, Lavan's youngest daughter and cousin, by the city well with her father's sheep. However, there was a large rock blocking access to the well's opening. So Yaakov single-handedly rolled off the massive rock that sat on top of the well and gave water to Rachel's sheep. When they were done, Rachel ran home to her father and told him that his nephew had just come to town. Lavan went out to greet Yaakov and invited him to stay in his house for as long as he needed, and also offered him a job tending to his cattle and asked him what would he like as payment. Yaakov answered him that he wished to marry his youngest daughter Rachel. Lavan replied that he must work for 7 years in exchange for her hand in marriage. So Yaakov worked for 7 years, and when he was completed, Lavan arranged a wedding but switched his daughters, giving Leah instead of Rachel to Yaakov. The next morning when Yaakov realized what happened, it was already too late. So he worked another 7 years to marry Rachel. However, a question comes to mind. After Yaakov married Rachel, the Torah writes that Leah was hated by Yaakov, and therefore God took pity on her and gave her children. As the pasuk writes, "Vayar Hashem ki snua Leah, vayiftach es rachma." And Hashem saw that Leah was hated and opened up her womb. And although the parsha details that Yaakov only wanted to marry Rachel, her father forced him to marry Leah first. So how could Yaakov hate Leah for something that was completely beyond her control? The Ramban on this pasuk explains that Yaakov really despised Leah because she misled him and tricked him. For when Yaakov came to Lavan's house, he knew that Lavan would try to cheat him. So he made a secret sign and signal with Rachel to see if he was being deceived. But Rachel, being the holy and righteous woman that she was, told Leah these secret signs not to let her be embarrassed in public. And yet Leah did not reveal her identity and let this ruse continue to the next day. The Beer Sheva even goes so far to write that when Yaakov saw how Leah tricked him, he wanted to divorce her. But when God gave her children, Yaakov dismissed that idea right away. However, the Rabbeinu Batya gives a deeper and more profound explanation. He writes that the Torah does not actually say that Yaakov hated Leah, but rather that Leah felt hated. She felt hated in comparison to the love that Yaakov showed to her sister Rachel. Yaakov did not even know that Leah was suffering, hence the pasuk saying God saw that Leah was hated, not that God saw that Yaakov hated Leah. And because Hashem is sensitive, compassionate, and caring towards even the feelings that Leah had. Because Leah perceived that she was hated by her husband, and Hashem considered it as if Yaakov indeed despised her. So even though Yaakov never enumerated and flat out said that he hated her, since she felt that she was hated in God's eyes, he did hate her. Because once God saw the pain, misery, and anguish that Leah was feeling, he changed course and gave her many children. As we see that each one of the matriarchs had a difficult time having children except for Leah, because he wanted to make her feel whole once again. In our daily life, it is imperative that we be kind and compassionate towards one another, even when it's difficult and challenging. And just like God, we should try to care about the feelings and emotions of another, even when we are correct or have good intentions. And although we cannot know people's true feelings, we must be mindful of the drastic impact we may have on a person's life. This awareness enables us to create and build strong and long-lasting relationships, giving us true satisfaction and happiness. There is an amazing quote that I once heard. Respect other people's feelings even if it doesn't mean anything to you, because it means everything to them. Have a great weekend and good Shabbos. Thank you for tuning in to the Parsha Perspective. Check out our website, theparshaperspective.com. Send thoughts and comments to theparshaperspective@gmail.com. Till next time, thanks for listening.